to Chris Gardner with the Houston Roundball Review for the first question of the day. Chris, go ahead, please.
Coach, when were you notified that the USF matchup was going to be postponed?
Officially,
Had you already left for Tampa yet?
Yeah, we didn't find out that there was an issue. They were texting John Houston, our trainer, why we were in flight. We left. I think our flight left a little bit after 11 o'clock. That's noon their time, so it's a little bit over a 2-hour flight on the plane we were on. So we got there a little bit after 2 o'clock. So that's when we found out that they had done an antigen test that morning and found a positive. So what they told us is that they were in the process of retesting that whoever it was with the PCR test, which is the official COVID test. And so we were just waiting on results. Then I think the next communication was if it is a positive, then with contact tracing, they would only be down to 5 players. So obviously your first thought is, I wish we had known this before we left, which you know, this isn't a point the finger who's to blame. It has nothing to do with that. You know, we just got to, I think for me, instead of just harping on the problem, is okay, what's the solution? I think the solution is just leave later. And instead of practicing at the other team's arena, which is what you usually do, just practice at your arena. That's the sacrifice you got to make. You know, I think we all have to find solutions in this thing. I'm not into pointing fingers to say who's to blame or we should have done this or we should have done that. You know, I'm not a Monday morning quarterback. I'm not into telling somebody that you know, I'm over here drowning and you're telling me the water's wet. You know, I'm not into any of that. You know, as coaches, we have to help. We have to help our medical people. You know, had we left at say 1 or 2 o'clock, we would have known that there was a issue. And then we could have stayed here until we found out if it came back positive. And we're not the only team. This is happening all around the country. There's no precedence for this. You know, there's a lot of know-it-alls that will tell you what you should have done after the fact. But the reality is that you know, we like to, as does 90% of the coaches in the country, like to practice in the gym that you're going to play in the night before versus practice in your arena. So that's what we were doing. So, okay, because of this pandemic we're in, let's practice here and wait until they get their tests in, all the test results back. Because if your protocol is you test the day before the game, then we need to know what the results are before we leave. And we'll make that adjustment going forward.
Have you suggested that to the conference as a whole?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, Chris. We'll go to Joseph Duarte with the Chronicle. Joseph, go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Kelvin.
Morning. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning. I was wondering, just kind of off of Chris's question, it's not just the American, specifically, you know, I think this conference has had 4 or 5 games this week that have had to be rescheduled or postponed. You know, from what you know, do you have any thoughts on, I mean, how this thing gets to the finish line, or do you feel like it's, you know, from the information you have, not looking to the future, trying to guess, but you know, where you know, can this thing finish out, you know, with everything on the rise and stuff?
Great question. I think it's inevitable, but not every game's going to get rescheduled. Like the first thing I did was look at our, I was on the bus when I heard that they had a possible positive. You know, they were waiting for the piece. I looked at what our next bye week was, which our bye week's February 3rd to February 10th. So that's a Wednesday to Wednesday. So that Saturday is we have an open date, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, possibly. So I looked at South Florida's schedule. Well, they play that week. So their bye week doesn't line up with our bye week, obviously, because everybody's going to have a different bye week. And I think that the thing that Tom Ojakian did in the scheduling this year was give everybody 2 bye weeks. So I checked the other bye week, which for us is in March. I think either right before or right after our last game against Memphis. So it's going to be a little bit crazy. I think what's going to happen, Joseph, the week of the conference tournament, most everybody's going to play Saturday or Sunday. Then I think the conference tournament starts Thursday. Some teams will play on Thursday, some teams will play on Friday. So that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that's going to be trying to reschedule games. And obviously we're not going to be able to reschedule them all. You have 3 days. Let's say we play on Thursday. Let's say we play on Thursday, and we've got 2 games we need to make up. Well, you have to assume if your team, everybody has to assume that we may play 3 games in 3 days. We may play 4 games in 4 days. So do you really want to add another game or a possible 2 games that week? You want to play a game Monday and Wednesday when you're playing Friday. And if you win Friday, you're going to play Saturday. If you win Saturday, you're going to play Sunday. So there's a lot of things to think through on the back end of this that we've never had to think through. So I think the short answer is inevitably some of these games will not be made up.
Thank you, Joseph. We'll go to Matt Musil with KHOU. Matt, go ahead, sir.
Hey, Kelvin, I was looking last week. I saw Patriot League games. All the players were wearing masks. Is that something that would help that much? What are your thoughts on that?
I saw that too, Matt. That has not been discussed with us. And therein lies the bigger picture is there's not a universal or uniform rules as you combat this disease. Go back to the Big Ten in football and their reaction to myocarditis versus the SEC's football teams, their reaction. Everybody reacts differently. Our league, it has not been brought up to wear masks. I just got out of a coach's meeting and my doors are closed here in my office. Every time we meet as a staff, we wear a mask. When we watch film as a team, we wear a mask. When we practice, I wear a mask. Now the players have not worn masks at practice, but they wore masks every other time, whether it's on a bus to the game, bus to the hotel, on the plane, we all wear masks. The only time we don't wear masks is when we play.
Hey, Kelvin, off topic, but what were your thoughts when James Harden left town? Because you guys were close.
Yeah, I think it's the best thing for everybody. James, I think mentally felt the best thing for him was to do what a lot of these other stars have done. I don't think what he did was any different than what Kawhi Leonard did or Anthony Davis did. Kevin Durant did. It's kind of what those guys at that level do. So, it's always okay until it happens to you. So I just think it's best for everybody. The Rockets have good enough players that they can compete. And what this will do is, I think this will act as a agent to bring those guys closer together. And I think at this stage, James's career, I think he feels like he has a better chance to win a championship in the situation he's going to. So I wish the best for all of them.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll go to Greg Bailey with KTRK. Greg, go ahead, please, sir.
Hey, Kelvin, just given what you guys have gone through with the latest game that got postponed, canceled, or whatever, how important is it to be able to play this weekend, and what will your travel plans look like as you talked about altering those?
Well, the practice plans, what we're going to do, Greg, is, and John and I were talking about this on the bus. Obviously, we had a wasted 24 hours. We left it. The bus left the Fertitta Center yesterday morning at 10 o'clock to go to the plane. Plane left around 11 o'clock. And so yesterday it was flipped. So we were leaving Tampa to fly back to Houston. I think we left at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. The plane left, which was 11 o'clock here. So it just flipped. What I proposed to John, I said, John, we got to come up with a solution. And I think the best thing for us is just stay here until we get the results of their testing back. It doesn't matter whether it takes a little bit longer to get a PCR result back than an antigen. But whatever it is, we find out what time are you going to test. I think there's two things that need to be done. The school that's hosting, let's say that we're visiting SMU. Okay, our test results are back. Everybody's negative. The medical release form was sent. Okay, but you're testing the day before, and your tests aren't back. Well, we're going to be on hold until we get those tests back, which means we may not be able to leave until 1 or 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock. And if that's the case, then we're not going to be able to practice at the arena we go to. That's okay. We'll get over that. It's not the end of the world. What we'll do is we'll get there, have dinner, meet, film, go to bed, get up the next morning, and we'll go shoot around in the gym that day. I coach at the NAI school. Believe me, we'll get over that.
We'll go back.
And as far, I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question, Greg?
Oh, no, Kelvin, you answered that. I just was asking about the importance of getting in this game this weekend with everything you kind of.
Yeah, well, it's a blessing. You know, we're fortunate to have this schedule coming up. Because I was one of my former strength coach at Oklahoma is the strength coach for Penny at Memphis now. You know, they haven't played 20 days. 20 days since they played a game. I just came out of a film session watching UCF and Temple play. And Temple's record was on the screen. Our record is 10-1, so we played 11 games. Temple's 1-3. Prior to that game yesterday, they had played 4 games. So I have no complaints. I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful that we're having the opportunity to play, you know. And I gave our kids a lesson in perspective when we went down to meet after we got there, and I was telling them that the game was canceled because our kids were, when I came down the elevator, our kids were out in the hallway of the meeting room that we had getting taped to go to practice. I said, yeah, keep taping them, John, but we need to call their trainer to see medically if it's okay for us to go practice in the arena. So when we found out we couldn't get on the plane and come back that night, I said, okay, no problem. We'll go practice at their arena. We got to come back here and play anyway. But you know, here pretty soon, the death total is going to be up to 400,000 Americans that have lost their lives. I do not want to hear one complaint about a basketball game getting canceled, and we're getting put out a little bit. We'll get over it. We're fine. Just no complaints. You just move on to the next day. We'll have a good practice tonight. Get up, fly back in the morning. As soon as we landed, we came right back to the gym and practiced again. So it's a blessing, and it's a blessing to be able to play. It could be a lot worse. So no, you will not hear any complaints coming out of University of Houston's basketball program.
Thank you, Greg. Back to Joseph Duarte. Joseph, go ahead.
Kelvin, you're in a stretch here where you've got several home games coming up. I was curious from your vantage point, the limiting of fans and that whole atmosphere. What's that like? I mean, is there a home court advantage anymore? You guys have been so good at home the last 3-4 years, but what does that take away from not having that energy around the guys or the atmosphere in terms of home court?
I don't know how many home games we played this year. I literally
I think
don't
you
know.
played 7, if I'm not
Seven's
Yeah.
not right. Yep.
mistaken.
Yeah, so I think if we play 7, that means we're 7-0. The one game I noticed, we've had one game where I felt like we really needed our fans. That was the Wichita State game. That's the only game I really noticed. I think mental toughness is a big part of our success over the years. That's something that we emphasize. We put our kids in situations where there's adversity. And a lot of it is, I create the adversity in practice and they have to respond to it. If they don't respond the right way, then we find out who can handle it and who can't. But, one of the great home court advantages, I think for 12 consecutive years, I went to Allen Fieldhouse at Kansas. I coached in that building 12 times. Those fans make a difference. And I was watching Texas, some film. I was watching some clips of Texas playing at Kansas. There you go. Does Texas beat Kansas by 30 with the fans there? That's the difference that the fans make. And our place is, our fans have since we've moved in that Fertitta Center, I never felt like we had a home court advantage at Hofheinz. Just a basketball game between two people that first year. I thought there was a bomb scare in that building at 7 o'clock. Wasn't nobody there. But since we moved into the Fertitta Center, we've had a home court advantage. But I think it says something about our kids and their ability to stay focused, bring your own energy, and that's what we all have to do. We're all the same in this deal. We're all fighting the same battle. There's nobody unique or you're special. We've all been disadvantaged some way from a basketball perspective, and you just have to bring your own energy, man. I mean, we've got I don't even know our league record. How many league games have we played? What is our record?
You played 6 league games.
5-1.
You're 5-1.
Okay, so 5-1. That means that we have we have 14 games, right? So we played at SMU. They've always had a great crowd over there when we go. We played at UCF and we played at Tulsa. There were some fans at UCF game. The fans I remember at USF game, the UCF game was the Coastal Carolina fans. They were there to play a bowl game the next day, and they had a bunch of because when I played in college, we used to play against Coastal Carolina. That's why I was probably the only guy on his campus that knew that their nickname was the Chanticleers, because I remember that. And our coach at the time, what was his name? He was Pete Maravich's backcourt mate when Pete Maravich played at LSU. Russ Bergman, that was his name. Russ Bergman was the head coach at Coastal Carolina. How about that for a little trivia on Friday morning? So, yeah, we just got to just go break. It's about spirit, energy. Figure it out. Just do it.
Got time for 1 or 2 more questions here, guys. We'll go back to Chris Gardner, please. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, as the host school, how is the testing handled for UCF coming in? When do they have to send in their results and everything being cleared?
It should be 24 hours. I think 24 hours is, they don't quote me on that, Chris, but usually John comes up to my office and we sit and we have a COVID meeting every day, either by phone or in person. This morning it was by phone. We just go through what the plans are. Like tomorrow morning, because of what happened in South Florida, we're going to move our testing up so we can get results to Central Florida before they leave. I know Tulane had the same problem at Central Florida, maybe right after we played them. And I know a lot of other schools have had this issue in other conferences, but we're constantly looking for solutions. I think what we're going to try to do going forward, number one, is us test earlier so we can get the results to the team coming to play us quicker, and us leave later based on when the results of their testing comes in. So we're not going to leave until we get the results from now on. And it took an incident like that yesterday to educate us on how we can help. It's about helping each other right now. There's no victims in this. There's no victims. The only victims in this is those 380,000 people. Basketball teams and players aren't victims. We just have to roll with the punches and figure out how to solve our problems. And in the big picture, these are not problems.